Hello again and welcome to a short reflection for this Sunday, and hopefully you'll get the chance to spend a wee bit of time, maybe in thought and prayer. You know, a few hundred years ago, before Jesus, a Greek slave called Aesop compiled stories that became known as Aesop's fables. And one of those stories was about a dispute between the wind and the sun over which one was the stronger. One day an opportunity arose for the dispute to be settled when a person who was dressed in a coat was walking down a country road, and the sun said to the wind, "You know, whoever makes that person remove the coat faster will be the winner." The wind not only agreed but decided to go first. He blew and he blew and he blew, but the more he blew, the tighter the person held on to the coat. And finally, the exhausted wind gave up. Then the sun took over. It merely shone in all its glory, and within minutes the person took off the coat. Aesop said that the moral of the story was that you can achieve more by gentleness than by violence. In this 21st century world of ours, gentleness is not as highly regarded as it once was. Not so long ago it was a compliment to call someone a gentle person. The word gentleman testifies to this. But sadly nowadays, violence is more popular than gentleness, and we find it everywhere. Log on to the internet, turn on the TV, and you'll see graphic depictions and stories of war, or old people being beaten up in their homes, or children being physically abused to death. Maybe worse, you will have walked past victims of violence lying there in the street, or have ignored people crying for help, or begging for food or money, clearly in distress. How different from what Jesus taught us. You remember, in the Gospel, the way in which he gently handled the case of the woman caught in adultery. He wasn't just gentle with her, but also with her self-righteous accusers. He didn't shout or rant at them. He simply bent over, gently, and wrote in the sand with his finger. Yet his action stood out like a clap of thunder in the silence of a warm summer's night. Jesus teaches us to be gentle. Remember the parable of the lost sheep in which he gently placed the sheep on the shoulders to carry it home? Or in the parable of the prodigal son, he held up for our imitation the father who didn't shout at his wayward son or remonstrate with him, but hugged him and invited him to a party in his honour. St. Paul reminds us of the gospel challenge contained in the words, "The Spirit of God has made his home in you. Unless you possessed the Spirit of Christ, you would not belong to him." So that same Spirit, which lives in Jesus now, makes a home within us. We are the body of Christ, called to give shape to the quality of love which comes from the heart of Jesus. And all those whom Jesus calls his own must now find a place in our hearts individually and collectively. The sick, the housebound, the handicapped, the elderly, the physically, mentally and spiritually abused, the addicted, the poor, the lonely and the unloved. In the midst of this world of ours in which there is so much poverty, suffering and untimely death, It's up to you and I to constantly be a sign of hope, joy, humility and gentleness in the risen Jesus, and not be afraid to respond to the challenges of the gospel. Jesus has entrusted to us the expectations of his people. Come to me, all you who labour and are overburdened, and I will give you rest. The reality is we cannot do this alone, but united in Jesus as his community of believers, one body, it is achievable. The Lord is faithful in his words and loving in all his deeds. Today and every day, Jesus invites each of us to follow his example and to be gentle and humble in spirit. How, I can hear you asking. Respond to people as the son in Aesop's fable of the wind and the sun. Respond with genuine warmth. Respond to those who wrong us by following Jesus' example in the case of the sinful woman, or as the father did in the parable of the prodigal son. And respond with authentic understanding, forgiveness, and gentle encouragement for the estranged to return home. So stay holy, happy and healthy, and may God bless you and yours on the days ahead. And hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.